Hello guys, I am Cosmic Drifter and this is my original voice reveal and in this video we are discussing and debunking some few misconceptions around the manga and anime series of One Punch Man, and we are further debunking some haters who are absolutely nothing but crackles and noise. And yes, one of the few misconceptions in the One Punch Man community, and as well as with some power scalers and debaters presume, is that Genos, whatever Genos is postulating, it is a theory. That is one of their major defect, and the lack of comprehension to understand what Genos is trying to convey and what does the narrative lens and narrative perspective of his wordings. And I'm going to deeply explain Genos' hypothesis, and I'm going to prove you all why that it is not merely a hypothesis like many assume. I know. And here we actually see, all this happened after the reversal of causality, after the reversal, the splitting of universe and the merging of universe via decoherence and preventing many paradoxes. The continuity of timelines have been replaced by some other instances, and here we are discussing the Genos hypothesis, which came after all these events. It is like a one shot, or like a summary of events. So here what's happened. It couldn't be a future that could have happened. I have no choice but to assume given the circumstances. Sensei, do you not remember anything? About what? According to the memory inside this code, both you and it came from a future point in time. So yeah, Genos is not going on his own. Actually, he's going according to the code, and we have seen that the narrative explanation of at that moment, this memory is residing in his code that crossed time and space with Saitama, came flowing into Genos. This is author's interpretation. This is not anyone's perspective, anyone whose character, not their perspective, but the actual reality of whatever happened. Everything which all saw, the reversal of causality, everything. The splitting and the merging, and the Saitama's subatoms been absolutely stasis, and all are recorded and stored in this code actually. So we have to go through the code because it is a necessity. It is the only artifact that ever tells the truth of the events that ever happened, and what has actually happened between Garu and Saitama in the past and in the future, which is also replaced in a confusing pattern which even most One Punch Man fans can recognize. So the memory is residing in the core that closed the time and space with Saitama, came flowing into Genos. Now this isn't a flowery language or either metaphor like you all think, since we have seen the reversal of causality pretty much break the way of cause and effect, how it works, how it operates. Actually, space and time, dimensionality, access and spatiality, all the concepts around quantum physics and basic physics, all are indulged under causality. If anything that either breaks causality or not even the metaphysical concept, even if any metaphysical concepts or any subjects that are either like true Platonism or true Platonism is one of those that are non-causal actually. But that doesn't mean that they break the causal interpretation entirely. If anything that does break causal interpretation entirely, it is only fiction or any type of laws in the physics that entirely removes the cause and effect the scenario from it. So crossing space and time, those memories of Saitama and Garu came into Genos. So this completely states that whatever that existed with Saitama, his memories and everything at subatomic level, those memories passed to Genos through the core. And Genos, he is the one speaking according to the core. He is not stating that everything is false. He is not assuming everything just blindly, like we all think, like I'm assuming there exist aliens, or like I'm assuming there exist many other higher civilization or anything else. It is not how it works. So he assumes, given the circumstances, given how everything happened and stored in representative of the core. According to the memory inside this core, both you and it came from a future point in time. Of course, this is what happened. We all know that Saitama traveled back to past, actually. And there he explained, it is merely a hypothesis based on so-called parallel world or the multiverse theory. But I suspect that this core came from one of those countless parallel worlds that diverged as a result of your actions. To explain this simply, even if Genos consider this as a hypothesis, it is due to because Saitama does not remember anything. That is one of the reasons he assumed it. Otherwise, he does not need a reason to assume anything that happened or not happened. According to Genos, if you go by the hypothesis, everything that happened is stored in this core. If you say all this event happened across space and time and everything must be false. If you're going through the lens that Genos is just interpreting theory or like a hypothesis. If Genos is false, then the merging of Saitama we have seen, like the Saitama from parallel universe merged with his other one. This must also be false because he saw the merging of Saitama not via his own eyes but by his own core from alternate universe actually. So here he says, I do not know at what point the divergence occurs, when the observers make a decision or when the observer takes action, but it has been confirmed that a new you separated from the original you at the start of your time travel and merged with the you of this separation, and merging may be accrue the timing of when the parallel world split off. Actually, do you guys understand what he means? What he's trying to convince you? What he's trying to convince Saitama as well as we readers? He is stating that he may not know when the observer takes a decision or an action, and either he can confirm that when the divergence happened due to that, but he can confirm that the new he is separated from the original he. Okay, which is also something we see through the manga panels. We saw Saitama merging with his other self, literally. And are you willing to dismiss that whatever Genos saw is false? Then also whatever you saw through the manga panels that Saitama merged with his other self must also be false. It must also be just a theory, not an actual reality. Okay? It is not possible that for example, if I saw a YouTube video or a short, then I make you guys see that short or video. It is not possible that whatever I saw is different from you saw. Maybe how you see it in your perception may be different, but whatever we see, we all see have a common in it. For example, let me say I have sent you an edit of Saitama. You can say that Saitama is cold there, or you can say he's aloof there. It is upon your perception of how you view Saitama in that edit. But you cannot say that that edit belongs to Genos, right? I mean, this is an I'm trying to convince you that you cannot simply fluctuate anything into hypothesis when you have other proofs around it. If Genos is false, then the entire merging and splitting event that happened, which we see through the panels, must also be false. Must also is something that must never happen, or never have happened either. That is how it works. That is how it should be. Okay? So, if you disagree that Genos' hypothesis is false, then you have to disagree that the merging and splitting happened is also false, because whatever Genos saw through the core is not just a mere not a manipulation, not either mine or your viewpoint. It is the omniscient perspective of of One Punch Man universe. That omniscient perspective is the core. So in simple, Genos' hypothesis cannot be dismissed as a hypothesis due to its narrative reasoning and as well as the objective reasoning as well. As you see, I am not going to explain further, and I will come back to Genos' hypothesis to prove again why this is true. And one of the other misconception and many other downfalls which people try to point in one of my scale is, I scaled Saitama to first high outer versal with one of the subatomic feats actually, and then I debunked my own scale to prove that he is not just high outer versal, but he is even beyond it. And in that scale, many people brought some kind of misconception, many other misconception and many other strawmanning, whatever that is. I'm not going with many formality over here. I'm going to explain some misconceptions that other try to say which I am. Like, here we have got a dude who says, okay, first of all, bro, I'm not using SL or whatever to compare with opium. Each different rules and cosmology system. I said, what fans? It's like you literally have advanced scientific knowledge, making it universal. Now, it does not make any sense, because all of you are just saying is also not making any sense. Let's strip power scaling language and talk pure science, physics concept, then connect it back to why this cannot be universal. Now, first, this panel describing scientifically. The manga mainly uses visual metaphor. Fuck you. Which metaphor? What do you mean by the metaphor? Do you think that can you guys see this? Here, Garo's subatoms are intimating each other and spinning in the opposite direction. Do you think this is a metaphor? Do you think this is a metaphor? Here we have got the visual interpretation. We have got the visual evidence that whatever happening in this panel is not just a hypothesis or a metaphor. This is the problem with most people. They just water everything to metaphor. And this is coming from the same guy who is solo leveling fan, who's trying to scale the fucking sea of afterlife to boundless. Yeah, I will debunk that further. I will debunk the fuck out of solar leveling later. And this is nothing personal. I'm just doing what I am. Because if saying truth makes you guys tear up, the crocodile tears, then yeah, I'm gonna make a whole ass ocean out of that tears. And let's continue. Let's continue. Which is subatomic particles moving in the opposite direction, and he says that subatomic particles moving in the opposite direction is now just a metaphor. And do you guys see this? You guys see this? This actually resembles quantum superposition, spin element, anti-element, matter, antimatter, symmetry, and wave particle. Also, particle having mirrored or opposite motion is normal in quantum field, atomic orbital, paired fermions, Pauli's exclusion event. I did never claim that Garo is breaking Pauli's exclusive principle just because he is able to spin his subatomic particles. Guys, did I ever claim that? Did I ever claim that Garo breaking all these laws just because he is able to spin his particles? Did I ever claim that? So what is this guy is trying to say? Yeah, what is this dude is trying to convince us? So all of this is for nothing. Nothing here break physics, none than extreme precision and synchronization. I never claimed that this break physics either. Okay. Now secondly, according to the panel you bought, they began to intimate each other movement. That's just repeating entanglement like a behavior. Now in real physics, system can enter coherencies where many particles act as typical bosons and condensate superconductivity and lasers. No, which is not outer versal scientifically, and the key part is the subatomic particles require space-time particles. They have position, momentum, exist here, and this and blah blah. Outer versal entities would not have particles at all. So in this comment we can see this dude completely fucking ignored my scale. He's not even talking about Saitama, he's talking about Garu. Man, I never tried to scale Garu using this feat. So what is this dude trying to convey me? And he calls me a blind man while he does not try to watch my video either. This is the problem actually. This is the problem with most people. But they does not watch any damn videos I upload with proofs and other thing, and they just say, yo dude, you're wrong because Saitama does not get paired galaxy because it is what it is. And you know what? Outer versal entities would not have particles at all. Damn, who said that? SCP-682. He has subatomic particles. That dude scaled to outer versal. That fucking lizard scaled to outer versal. His durability and resistance against many other cosmic entities, which are literally reality benders, and not only to mention one atoms from SCP universe scaled to Platonism, Platonic concept itself, and they literally scale higher actually. Each subatoms and atoms, this is not a headcanon, these atoms contain their own multiverse, and mainly. So if this dude says subatomic particles exist in a space-time so they cannot transcend it, he is completely stating wrong. He is not completely following anything that is a part of actual quantum physics, because many theories like Hilbertspace and other still depend upon the subatomic particles and the wave vector and wave space and other interpretation, if you see. And as you can see, this guy is trying to convince me that space and time, subatomic particles are just limited to some dimensions. I mean, he's convincing me that subatomic particles are actually just nothing but capping at 5D and 4D. So I have to ask him one question actually, that if he believes that the subatomic particles cap at 5D, then how a 5D coordinate system is supposed to track 10 to the power 80 particles having each infinite possible state? Let's talk about free particles, man. Let's come into the deep world of quantum physics. Let's talk about free particles. How are you going to state coordinate system of of 10 to the power 80 or 90 free particles where each free particles have infinite superposition? Now you must say that how? And 5D is just a conceptual dimension where everything is bent or arched to like a loop. They're not even bigger, they are not even huge as the size of an atom. So what is this dude is trying to convince me, And you know that in the math of MWI, the universe of wave function does not just branch into extra lanes or worlds. It exists as a configuration space where the number of dimension is 3n. Now let's consider like 3n, or where n is the number of particles. That include free particles too. You need to remember that includes free particles as well. For a universe of particles, the dimension count to effectively infinite. You understand that, And so what is with this 5D bullshit of subatomic particles? And let me ask, if subatomic particles is 5D, then how the hell Hilbertspace like theories condensate about infinite dimensions? Tell me, how is that possible, dude? Educate me if you think so. So you need to understand that the idea that subatomic particles are limited to 4D or 5D is a shallow take. It is a shallow take that this take completely ignores the actual mathematical architecture of the existence. Actually, subatomic particles are not just like this tiny physical doubt like he's trying to convince us. This dude is trying to convince us that these subatomic particles are just fucking dots. Like, man, they are the local expression of quantum field, and even that exists to stabilize the whole concept of Hilbert space is not even possible without subatoms and many other foundational particles. And what the hell is this guy is trying to convince me? In mathematics and quantum physics, Hilbert space is not just extra room like you think. Many people even now assume that Hilbert space is just a physical dimension. I also assume that this guy is thinking the same. Like, fuck no. That is a mathematical and abstract dimension, dude. It is an infinite dimensional vector space. Okay, it is a vector space that has size and magnitude. Okay, that is abstract. It is required account for every possible state and position and a wave function a particle can occupy. That is Hilbert space. So when this guy claims subatomic particles are capped at 5D, it is just like saying, like an ocean, like a fucking Pacific Ocean, Atlantic Ocean can be fit inside a fucking glass. Are you serious? Is this your quantum knowledge? And you kept saying that I am not worthy to debate with. And you see yourself. You look at your own mirror, dude. You look at yourself. If subatomic particles capped at 5D, then anything that constitution of the theory that is derived out of the necessity of the same subatomic particles must also be capped at 5D, fucking fifth dimension. This guy who talks about 5D doesn't even know what is the 5D in physics and 5D in mathematics. In mathematics, it's just an extra five coordinate actually in a plane. But in physics, it is Kaluza-Klein theory. That is the whole world I am. That is not something I can explain in this one video. So, I just completely find his argument that subatomic particles of 5D is, or 4D is just a futility. I mean, I'm completely disappointed with guys like him, to be honest. And another irony about this dude is that he is accusing me of using AI, Using AI won't make you see that, he says. And the same guy says that subatomic particles of 5D. I mean, at least I don't think artificial intelligence would say that subatomic particles are 5D unless you force it. I don't think, because I don't think Google is dumb or our internet is dumb enough to add information like subatomic particles being 5D or 4D in many websites like Britannica or Wikipedia or any other science forums. And the same AI searches through various websites and they give us the answer. I personally think a dude who uses AI will be better than this guy who has half knowledge and full arrogance. Yeah, arrogance is full. You've got a lot of arrogance. And this you can see. He is still talking about. He's having a huge misconception that I am talking about Saitama being boundless. Is this guy even aware what the fuck is the definition of a boundless actually? Is he even aware what boundless is? The tier boundless or the tier of Perion or anything you say like the one above all the tire or the pure incomprehensibility. Dude, I never scaled Saitama to boundless. I'm yet to do that. But no, I did not scale Saitama to boundless. So him trying to say subatomic particles cap at 5D, I debunked it already. And yes, him trying to say I'm trying to scale Saitama to boundless, I never did that. Straw man, red herring. And you know what? He is trying to convince that I am speaking of something which I'm not. You know what? Like a forced concession type shit. No. This dude is completely talking different. While I agreed with him saying that many other, like, the Bose-Einstein and many other condensation about subatomic particles which cause and him controlling it, I understand that. I never claimed that scales outwards. I never did. Did I do that? I never did. But everyone is ignoring one important fact actually, and that one important fact is the subatomic stasis of Saitama. Yep. Look, I'm going to break down this for one more last time for the people who can't read a fucking panel to save their life. I mean, you see this visually. Murata is a god of kinetic energy. We all know that. He uses black kanji and sound effect and jagged motion lines to show everything, that a pebble moving, two Karu's subatomic particles rotating, and a frantic imitation of physics. Okay? We have seen, if you go through Murata's art, you can understand that he's a master who is very well known and very well aware of how to draw something that is stagnant and how to draw something that is not. And we have seen that, like in even in series, even in animation, we have seen where Saitama being completely still in the rain, and where he didn't draw any kanji or any lines, and we see how Saitama was very much motionless. Not just one panel, there are many panels that prove where he draws something completely still and he draws something where Saitama does not move. Of course, he knows what he does actually. He's not mistaking his art. And when you look at the Saitama subatomic panel, the art becomes surgically clean, as you say. Like there are no lines, no blur, no spin. Like it is a literal visual depiction Murata is giving us of about the absolute stasis of subatomic particles. Okay, this isn't a lazy fucking art. It is a deliberate choice of how to show Saitama's internal foundation has reached a state of stagnation, a stagnant stillness that should be physically impossible for living and thinking and processing any damn information. Okay, any damn information. So the narrative line did this, it is a fucking logical hammer actually. Explicitly, it is separating Saitama from moving and imitating from Garo's particle. Like if the narrative describes Garo's particle as being in motion and then say Saitama did this by showing absolutely static void, the only logical conclusion of the Saitama state is the total opposite of the motion. That is how it works. Okay? Well, this is the only way he could merge with his other self actually. Otherwise it is not possible, bro. You cannot fucking merge atoms of identical to each other like nothing. This is not playing with mud or like playing with your so-called jujutsu or bankai. No, this is not that shit, bro. This is whole mathematical and physical. This ain't your DB side, okay? Let me tell you, this ain't your bleach either. Let me be clear actually. And this stagnation is a bridge to his logical transcendence. That is what I explained carefully actually. Being subatomically still while remaining fine and sane and moving through space, he broke the law of non-contradiction. He was moving and not moving at the same time. If he were still and tied to math of the universe, then the causality of the universe wouldn't happen. The catastrophic violation of mass and energy conservation. That is messed up. Everything is messed actually. Or he would have been arrested by the decoherence that keeps MI branches separate. Decoherence, of course, you need to know what the hell is decoherence first actually. And I know that many of you are unaware of the fact that what is decoherence. Decoherence, it is actually the process where quantum system loses its quantumness, like a superposition or entanglement, and starts behaving classically due to the interaction with its environment that can be either light, heat, air, or anything that effectively leaking the quantum information out, and which explains why we don't see quantum weirdness everyday life. It is a major challenge in building the fucking stable quantum computers. Okay, that is the decoherence. And you know what is the decoherence importance in MWI, many-world hypothesis or many-world interpretation. In many-world interpretation, decoherence explains the appearance of wave function collapse and the emergence of classical reality. Okay, by showing how quantum system entangled with a vast environment like an air molecule, photons, lose it quantum interference or inferences affects effectively like a splitting into separate non-interacting branches with identical items. Okay, where all outcome actually occurs, and it's governed by the unitary evolution, which has every data of the universe, of the respective universes, in uncountable, indefinable infinities. That is what decoherence is. And this dude doesn't even know what decoherence is. I'm completely aware he doesn't fucking know what all this is. That is the only reason why he said Otherwise, nobody in the right mind would say that subatomic particles cap at 5D or 70 just because they occupy space. Actually, this is what this dude is trying to convince me. Oh, hell no. Hell no. What is this dude even trying to say, huh? And you know what? He completely... And one other thing he said is that... yeah, I will come back to that later. The outroversal atom... anything with atoms are not outroversal. Like, I will explain that later. First, let me explain that. So I proved why this absolute stasis we have seen actually here, as Garo subatomic particles were shown movement, have drawn arrow, kanji and everything. So Murata is not actually, he's not lazy like you think, or neither he is trying to convince there exists a movement. When if you look at the visual interpretation, you can see there is no movement, no type of motion at all, just nothing actually. Not anything that explains there exists motion. This is even beyond absolute nothing, absolute zero. In absolute zero state, in absolute zero state, there is a chance that subatomic particles might have few percentage of kinetic energy. But here, Murata has clearly shown there exists nothing which denotes motion, as you see, and nobody can actually draw subatomic particles as stagnant, because even if we took away the spinning property of subatoms completely, the whole universe is gonna break down, bro. You gonna turn into some singularity. I am gonna turn into some kind of singularity. We ain't gonna exist. We can't say we die, but we can say we cease to exist actually. That is what will happen if spinning property also suddenly gonna exist. And Saitama, and yeah, he just resisted it, and his subatomic particles never destroyed either, and they were completely stagnant, and so he was completely normal. If spinning stopped, Pauli's exclusion principle stops. Heisenberg uncertainty principle, that will come to wane when subatomic particles completely stops movement. And quantum particles or the subatomic particles or the foundational particles, they cannot be stagnant at all. It is impossible for them to be stagnant. But if you see the visual interpretation, there is no way they are moving. And this is fiction. This is not the real world, okay? Everything happens in fiction. And so yeah, if you go through the possibility that there exists some certain types of movement, then you are just going by the uphill to possibility. You are not trying to prove that there exists movement. And nobody can mistakenly draw that subatomic particles completely stopped. Even if any author does that accidentally, even if he or she does not mean it, then some laws of physics mostly are completely broken, okay? They just scale far away from any multiverse or complex fucking multiverse or like you all imagine actually. Not even Hilbertspace is kind of possible with having no... it is not completely possible without spinning properties of subatoms. I'm not saying Hilbertspace is completely impossible, but I'm saying it is still difficult actually. So yeah, at the end of the day, this guy is just completely embarrassing him, and completely he thought he is all king and everything. He knows shit actually. And I'm not trying to be mad, I'm just completely stating the fact that what is going on here, okay? What is going on here, and what is the reality, and what is the nonsense he is trying to say. So yeah, now another point is this claim that outroversal entities cannot exist if they have subatoms. This is pretty much one of the foolish arguments I have ever seen. I mean, there exist fictions where even teeny particles, atoms, scaling to outer worlds are actually. This is fiction, okay? In each fictional world there exists different rules, theories, and exceptions, and many other. And you cannot apply OPM logic to D-wizard actually, because it won't work the other way. And you cannot apply D-wizard logic to OPM either. It does not even work the way too. And if you argue that subatomic particles, if anything that have subatomic particles are not outer worldsal, it is true in one way. Anything cannot be outer worldsal if their subatomic particles control them. Okay? If subatomic particles are foundation of an entity, a being or an X, then they are not outer worldsal, because the entire quantum mechanics has their own logic, okay? And subatomic particles, the study of the subatomic particles and many particles of foundation of life and any other is quantum mechanics and quantum physics, or not quantum mechanics, quantum physics we can say. And you see, if a being or an entity or an X whose complete foundation is not dependent upon their own subatomic particles, they can't be outer worldsal even if they have subatoms actually. Indivisibility, immutability is not dependent upon physical thereof. It is not dependent upon any physical existence. Many people misinterpret it. I mean, I was once a scalar. I mean, I was once a moderator in some power scaling wikis. I mean, dude, I know. I'm not following any tiering system blindly, I know stuff, and I'm stating that you cannot go with the logic. In that logic, many characters in SCP which explicitly with strong proof are a high outer worldsal above actually, and they will be like fucking low complex multiversal. That is a contradiction, bro. Turing system does not exist to draw exceptions. They exist to merge in many different fiction and scale the characters, elements, or fictional words with some rules, and not just that one rules that only apply to one fiction. That is not how it works. That is not how it works actually. Subatomic particles, those particles, as I spoke before, are the foundation of existence. Pretty much their foundation, of course, because subatomic particles carry information for the existence itself, and this is not a joke. Unless you go for Platonism or Platonic metaphysics ideas. Still, if what are the consequences happen if subatomic particles stop spinning? The consequences that will happen if quantum particles completely stop, then the quantum particles will stop being quantum particles. So let me explain this deeply. If quantum particles reach a state of like absolute stasis, like I explained, the consequences for physics are nothing short, just like I said, it will be an ontological reset for physics. Like in our universe, particles are defined by intrinsic spin and Heisenberg's uncertainty principle, which mandates a minimum level of jitter of energy all the times. When this motion stops, Pauli's exclusion principle, the rule that keeps matter from collapsing itself into reality, like it will fail instantly, and without spin and moment, The information that defines a particle's identity, action, purpose, and existence itself is evaporated. It's fucking evaporated. And physically, this will result like immediate evaporation, like I said, like into some singularities. Like the electromagnetic force would fail, the atoms would cease to exist, like I said before. The very fabric of space-time will have no data to coordinate or anchor anything like a curvature, because everything will be like in chaos. Like this is a state of quantum impossibility, you can say, because static quantum particle is not quantum particle anymore. This is absolutely a contradiction which has happened in Saitama's quantum particles, And what is the effect on mathematics? I mean, for mathematics, the total succession of quantum particles represent like a division by zero, at the foundational level of existence. So actually, the mathematics describes reality through a function of change and state. If subatomic particles are stagnant, there is no input and output for this function to process. If no input, no process, no function. In coordinate geometry like and vector calculus, a point with zero motion, zero spin, and zero information become a non-computable value. It's basic mathematics. You cannot map trajectory or calculate a probability for an entity that has no internal data flow. Effectively, the software of mathematics hits a dead fucking end, since information is a fucking bridge between a physical object and a mathematical description we use to explain. So a stagnant Saitama is just like a mathematically untraceable. He's a fixed value that produces a result. That is breaking the principle of sufficient reason, as well as mathematical axiom like fixed point cannot have progress. These types of laws are broken. The fixed point cannot have an upbringing is now futile. Okay, like such way it also breaks logic. I'm gonna explain again. The most devastating, like the consequences occurs at the level of logic itself. If you see Saitama moves, like he licks his lips when Garo was completely slowly turning into salt. All those pile of salt is surfacing up in Saitama's lips, and he's like, man, is this salt? Like he's moving, Saitama is moving, and he's remember what is happening, all that. And his internal particles are total stasis. Like he's committing a paralogical act. If you go through the logical or paralogical sense, it is not even logical. it is at this point is paralogical. According to the law of non-contradiction, a thing cannot be static and in motion at the exact same time, in the same respect. Yet, Saitama's subatomic base is motionless, while his concept as a person is acting motion, Like he was yet moving while he is not moving. This creates a logical impossibility where he exists in a state of being and not being simultaneously. Furthermore, since memory and sanity require off-firing of neurons and movement of energy, and which grounded in particle motion, it's a fucking quantum particles, bitch. Understand? Saitama is thinking without a physical mathematical mechanism, without even logic, without even a physical or mathematical mechanism. Can you imagine that shit? Huh? Can you imagine that? Huh? So that is why I say he's the ultimate fucking glitch. A being who has reached a state of absolute nothingness. Not of philosophy absolute nothingness. I mean absolute nothingness of existence in mathematics and physical as well as logical point. Like he is a constant of his own. So by existing as fine and sane, this fucking entity, this bald dude, is turned off and he's turned on. This is why this guy is nigh boundless, not boundless. I never claim he's boundless. This dude This dude is completely indivisible. He is not divisible to his particles. His existence is not dependent upon his own subatomic particles. Okay? It is not. That is the whole fucking point. And yes, many people, this guy, this Janusa guy, this legend of, he's an alien legend. He's a fucking, like what? Like a concave brain, devolved caveman. I mean, literally look at him. He's saying out-reversal beings cannot have atoms. Bro, that's Platonism. And it isn't required that only Platonism is out-reversal. Okay, there's many metaphysical concepts that are kind of out-reversal, not just beyond dimensionality or like a Platonism. Platonisms are pure forms, and they are non-causal and non-spatial temporalism. Okay, that applies. If Saitama was a Platonic subject, then you could have said that he cannot have atom, so he is not out-reversal. But here Saitama is not limited to some metaphysical framework like Platonism, like you guys trying to box him into. He's not Platonic concept, okay? He just has his sub-patterns, but he is not even dependent upon it. It's like he doesn't care if they exist or not exist. Quantum particles stop being quantum particles the moment they go still. And this has happened there, and his quantum particles, they're not a quantum particles anymore. And this is what I'm trying to explain to you guys in the 2-minute video. I didn't want to make it into a fucking physics lecture, okay? I didn't want to stretch it, but this guy forced me to explain everything. He's the same dude who said, like, sea of afterlife is fucking boundless. This is the same guy who said sea of afterlife is boundless. Meanwhile, it can be divided. Meanwhile, sea of afterlife, it does not even, it just only lacks some concepts like time, space, sound, and everything else. It is even described as a white emptiness. A true boundless cannot be described under non-framework and framework as well. That is what boundless is. Okay, that is what boundless is. And this fucking sea of afterlife is described as some kind of white emptiness. Prove that they are not like a boundless, which is solo leveling fans trying to convince me of. I mean, don't teach me how to power scale something, okay? Don't teach me. You do that to someone else, okay? That's someone else. That's it. That's what I'm talking about. And yeah, they claim that the physical universe is just scaled to like Hilbertspace. Like, no. Some infinite dimension doesn't mean that it's infinite dimensional. It has to be qualified to the mathematical framework or the Hilbert space framework itself, actually. If a structure, a cosmological structure that does not fall under a mathematical framework of an infinite dimension, it cannot be considered as an infinite dimension. So some planes of infinite, like what, some 4-dimensional infinite layers or 5-dimensional infinite layers does not mean that it's an infinite dimensional structure. A solar leveling has never explained either that how their universe having infinite dimension. What infinite dimension do you mean? Is it vector? No, it's not vector magnitude or anything like Hilbertspace. Hamilton? No. In mathematical? No, it's just infinite dimension. Infinite dimension. What infinite? It can be either a 5-dimensional layers of continuous 5-dimensional layers of dimensions or 6-dimensional layers, but having an infinite dimension does not guarantee that it comes under some mechanism of a Hilbert space or infinite dimension or a Hilbert space infinite dimensional either. So when solar leveling fans say they have infinite universes where each universe having infinite dimension, it doesn't even come to type 3 cosmology or type 4 cosmology like they think. It's just infinite, uncountable infinities of dimensions. That does not entail that it is some Hilbert space. Even inaccessible doesn't guarantee that it's Hilbertspace, or I'm not. Let's leave the Hilbertspace. I mean the infinite dimensional or not. They have to qualify some framework and how the mechanism of a infinite dimensional space, mathematics and physics work. Okay, otherwise they don't qualify that. That is how it is. And there are many hyperbolic statements which exist in solar leveling as well, which I will debunk in some other video. And now, I explained why, like, the outer versal atoms, like I explained, I think I explained it. Now, there's also another scale for Saitama as a logical impossibility. He merged with his other self actually, and I proved that Geno's hypothesis is real because he cannot be simultaneously wrong and right at the same time. He said, according to the core, Saitama and the core came from one of the parallel universe, and he also mentioned that they merged, and also they split from some point of future which he's not aware of, But that is the main point. I mean, he never saw Saitama merging with his other state by his own eyes, but he saw that via the core. I mean, the core cannot lie. It cannot just lie about MWI or Hilbertspace or like any other events that happened. It cannot lie about everything selectively and then only choose these two things that are truth. You know why people call Geno's hypothesis a lie? Because they have to they're just jealous that Saitama actually scales higher due to this, if this is true. But they are trying to assume that this can be false and true. Meanwhile, we know one cannot be simultaneously wrong and right at the same time. Actually, okay, like if Geno saw that Saitama merged and splitting happened, he confirmed it, and we also confirmed it through the manga panels. And then he cannot just say that the whatever he saw through the core, the other stuffs he saw through the core are also lie. Oh, he cannot. That is not how it works actually. And Xenos is mostly one of the highest intelligence life form in One Punch Man manga series, and we cannot risk his hypothesis or some subjective belief, since he is holding account to that core. He's not holding his account to himself, but the core, and the core which stored everything. It cannot be simultaneously right and wrong at the same time. Okay, that is what I'm talking about. I mean, if you all disagree that Geno's hypothesis is false, then you have to agree that whatever happened in the manga, the merge and the splitting and even Garu manipulating everything, all must be a lie. Everything is lie. And you cannot do that. There's nothing like, you cannot selectively choose that this is lie just because you didn't see that. But there are evidences of other things that depend upon the omniscient perspective of opium, that is core. No, you cannot. That is not how it works. Otherwise, you are contradicting yourself by cherry picking. That's cherry picking, classic cherry picking move. That's why. And yes, and that's why the MWI have identical atoms, 100% identical atoms. And this is common knowledge. I mean, if you read Stanford entries, you will understand it, or any other philosophy and scientific physical manuals. Okay, and since you need to understand that identical atoms cannot just merge together. Actually, even merging of atoms that is non-identical into one is physically impossible. but merging of identical, just like 1 plus 1, which is completely, 1 is identical to another 1, any 1 is identical to any other 1, okay? And you cannot say that 1 plus 1 is equal to 1, because 1 and 1 is equal to 2. That is a mathematical necessity. It is independent of any metaphysical function or physics, actually. And there you see, Saitama merged with itself and he became 1. That is the whole point. I mean, this isn't a merge. This is a merge. This isn't a fusion or fission. Because, like, let me explain this. Like, Pauli's exclusion principle is a mathematical rule that says only one person, like a one particle, can sit in together. Okay, like in a seat. Let's consider that quantum particles, they cannot just sit together. Actually, that is Pauli's principle. Actually. So when Saitama from world A, like, he breaks into the world B and then he merged with it, like, it's like you're trying to force two people into exact same seat. Okay, understand? Like you're saying that when you go to a theater, you have one single seat and you does not sit over over others lap, but you sit together. Means when you two sit, you just become one. That is not possible, actually. That breaks, it violates Pauli's exclusion principle. It's like two people came and they sit in a chair and they became one. Okay, that is how it is. It breaks Pauli's exclusion principle as well. It's a dead end, actually. And the mathematical probability of this happening is fucking zero. Okay. So the wave function of the math that describes our particle literally cancels itself out. Like for Saitama, to exist in this state is impossible. Like he didn't just sit down or overlap with his other self, but he just merged with his other self. Okay, he deleted the fucking theater himself. Like, that's how I can bring a good analogy. Otherwise, I mean, it is hard to describe the situation without an analogy. It's like, it is a violation of conservation too. Like, if mass doubles, he's no longer the identical Saitama. Like, he becomes a denser and element. Like, he is not identical to his other, because he became a Saitama that is a composition of two. He became not identical to his two Saitamas, which he was forced to become as one. The parental A Saitama and parental B Saitama, and here we have got our C Saitama. Like, the mathematically you cannot have A plus A is equal to A. Like, it's violate the law of identity, bitch. It violate quantum particles, quantum laws, mathematics, and now it violates a law of logic. Not even law of middle exclusion and applied, because here's something between Saitama and Saitama. Yeah, if law of identity is broken, law of contradiction as well is broken, and law of middle exclusion as well is broken. He's a true impossibility now. Yeah. Many word interpretation, like it's like a different radio frequencies. Okay, you cannot hear stations and like station A and B on the same frequency. Like, let's consider it as that way. And so this is what in mathematics and physics they call us orthogonal. Like, they're mathematically perpendicular. MWI words are non-interacting. Okay, they never touch. Saitama reaching over those frequencies and merging into one clean, fine and sane ball nigga is like a radio playing two different songs at the same time, and you can differentiate it each. That's not happening. Okay, that is not fine. Okay, that is totally non-logical, and like the math of this Hilbertspace, like, which defines how worlds are separated. Like, I already explained why God had to use Hilbertspace to make Saitama travel into a world where everything followed very similar. events. It is only possible if you have a little Hilbertspace infinite dimensional manipulation, because infinite dimensional Hilbertspace is used for infinite data set, and MWI is uncountably infinite. So that is why I said this dude is nigh boundless. Okay, I didn't just completely, or I just didn't completely was yapping anything about or anything else like you all want me to. And this is a truth, and it will remain all the day truth. And I'm winding up. I just drained a lot, guys. I will upload some verses, edit and everything, and yeah, I'm gonna explain. I'm not done yet. This is just a beginning. Okay, bye. And this is Cosmic Drifter Scale signing off.